guys, it's Lydia here. So for today's video, I am really excited because we're going to be doing a stretching routine for the splits. So I recently got my splits, and since it was very recent, I remember all the tips that I had to learning how to do the splits. Because one thing I really get bothered by is when someone makes a video on how to do the splits, but they've had the splits for since they were a child and they don't even remember not having the splits. And then they're like, these stretches will totally help you who are inflexible. No, I wanted to make this because I just recently got it. Forever I've wanted to do the splits, and I finally found these specific really good stretches and really good techniques for you to be able to hold or to get your splits. So without further ado, let's dive in. We're going to start with a warm-up because it is very, very important to warm up before doing any stretches. Also, when you warm up, it loosens your muscles more, so you'll be able to stretch farther, which is what we want when we're doing the splits. So I'm going to keep these warm-up exercises really simple. We're going to start with just 10 squats. Bring your legs out a bit wider, and then we're going to do just 10 side lunges, 5 on each leg. So a side lunge, it's kind of like a squat on one leg. Basically, you're going to keep one leg straight, bend the other one so your hips go to the back. You might even feel a good stretch in that straightened leg. Come up, go to the other side. Here we go. Nice and low. Last one. And relax. Okay, so for the next one, we're just going to do some front and back kicks. These are really good for warming up your hips and your hamstrings. The thing about this though is that don't kick so high that you're gonna hurt your hamstring. Just kick lightly. So here is where you're good, if it's up here, just do, if you can touch your head and not feel a stretch, you can do, just kick as high as you want to while not feeling too much of a stretch, because we're just warming up. We're not trying to stretch out yet. Here we go. I'm gonna kick up and back. So kicking back 2. Here we go. 1, 2, I'm holding onto the wall because I do not want to fall over. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, alrighty, relax. So for the next one and the last one, we're going to be warming up our calves and hamstrings a bit more. We're just going to do some heel raises. This is really, really easy. Just have your feet about hip distance apart. You're just going to lift your heels off the ground and lower down. It's really, really simple, but you want to stay nice and controlled here. So you're not just falling down. You're going up, holding it for a second, and lowering down. Okay, so now we're going to go down to the ground, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do a series of stretches. We're going to be staying all on one leg, and then once we're done with that side, then we're going to do the other leg. So let's go down to the ground. Each stretch I'm going to do for about 30 seconds. So I feel like that's a really good time if you're really trying to just sit down in your stretch and hold it. And if you're going to do a workout, make sure to do it before doing this, because this is a very deep stretching routine and you don't ever want to do a deep stretching routine before doing a workout. So let's head to the ground and stretch out our muscles so we can do the splits. Okay, so for the first stretch, we're going to go up into a lunge. And this is a really, really good stretch for stretching out your hip flexors, which are right here in the front, and they are really important to be flexible in your splits. So you're just going to go into your lunge like this, your hands on your front knee, and really push this thigh towards the ground. Push it forward and down. You'll feel a really good stretch in this hip flexor. And then put your elbows on the ground like this, and you'll feel a slightly different stretch, maybe more in your front leg hip, but you still should feel a nice deep stretch in your hip. Alrighty, so then push back so that your front leg is straight, and you're just going to lean over your front leg to stretch out your hamstring. Obviously, hamstring flexibility is very important for your splits. And with all of these, like, I'm pretty flexible, I can do the splits, but if you're up here and you're feeling a stretch, don't feel bad. I was there too. I was not flexible at all. So even if you're up here, that's fine, but if you can get your chest to your leg, do so. Try to really push yourself. Okay, so next, go into a pigeon pose like this. So that's where this front leg is just flat on the ground parallel to you. You should be feeling a really good stretch in your glute, your outer hip of the front leg. And like, staying here is a great place for beginners, but if you want to deepen the stretch, you can lean forward. You should feel that really good stretch in your outer hip. Alrighty, so come up, and then we're going to pull the back leg in like this, and that's going to stretch out your thigh, so the front of your leg, which it doesn't need to be as flexible as some of the other muscle groups we're stretching, but it still does get stretched out. Like, all of your leg is stretching when you're in the splits, so you really want to stretch every part of your leg. This is a really good stretch. It mainly stretches your thigh and the front of your leg, but it also keeps stretching out your hips and your hip flexors. Okay, so then come into a butterfly sit, and we're just going to reach forward here. Now in this stretching routine, I am only going to do side splits or front splits, but I'm not going to be doing any middle splits. But stretches like this are still really good for your middle splits, so you can always do those after you've done this stretching routine, because your inner thighs are still going to be stretched out after you do this routine. So that's a great thing to do after this. Okay, so for the next stretch, we're going to do a nice little pike sit. So put your legs in front of you, and you're going to reach over them. I like to flex my feet because that gives me a better stretch. And we're just going to hold it here. So if you feel like you can't reach your feet, if you're like right here, that's completely fine. And if you feel like flexing your feet is too much, that's completely fine too. The point is just to feel a good stretch. So if you're doing a stretch and you're like, oh, I don't know, it's not really feeling good. If it doesn't feel like a stretch, it feels more like pain, don't try to push through it. Just go till you feel a nice stretch but never any pain. Alrighty, come up. So now it's time for the splits. Yes, the splits already. We're gonna do some little tip that my friend told me, which was like mind-blowing to me, and that is before you do the regular splits, do the oversplits. And you're probably thinking that doesn't make any sense. Why on earth would I go straight from no splits to oversplits? But that's because all these stretches are really good for stretching out your hips, but for stretching out your legs, but doing the oversplits is what really is going to push you down more. For the longest time, I was really close to the splits, but couldn't get it. And once I did this tip, it just worked so well. So you want to get something not too high, just like kind of higher. I have a stool, and that works great for me. I can't get all the way down on my oversplits. Not quite yet, maybe that'll be later on, but this is a really good place to start. So even if you can't do the splits, practice these over splits and that will help you get into your split. So grab something like this. This is kind of high, so if you don't want to do it this high, that's completely fine. Just grab something that's a little bit higher that will make you stretch. And you're going to put your front leg, so the leg that was in the front in all of the stretches we did, put that on the front. And then you're just going to walk your back foot out till you feel a stretch. And then we're just going to hold it here. So we're going to hold it for 30 seconds. And in this, it's basically you're stretching out all the muscles you stretch out in your splits. And one thing I like to do is you can straighten your knee and then bend your knee and feel more of a stretch in your hips. So that way, if you feel like you're doing it and you can only feel it in your hamstrings, you can bend your knee slightly and feel it more in your hips, or straighten your knee more and feel it in your hamstrings. Alrighty, so then come out of that. And then we're going to do the regular splits, which is always exciting. Okay, so for the regular splits, I think there's a lot of ways to get into it. My personal favorite is to start in kind of a lunge and then scooch my hips down till I get to the splits. Now obviously I've got the splits, but if you're up here and you feel a really good stretch, that's completely fine. But we're just going to hold it here. And if you have the splits down, put your arms around your legs like this, and that will help your hips to stay square. Because a lot of times when I'm doing the splits, it can be easy to just sit down on this hip, but you don't want to do that. You want to stay nice and square. And try to lift your hands off the ground is kind of the goal here. So you don't want to be always going like this because that's not stretching as much. Alrighty. So there we go. Whoa, that was the first leg. Now we got one more leg to go and then we're done. I feel like I talked way too much in that round, so sorry. Try to be a little bit quiet this leg. But here we go. We're going to start with just the high lunge on the other leg. So whichever leg was in the back of your splits, you're going to bring it forward. And here we go. The thing I don't like about a lot of split videos is that they only stretch one leg. I think it's very important to stretch both your legs when doing the splits. Even if you're want to only get it on one leg, it's very important to have equal flexibility. Next, put your elbows on the ground. And then straighten out your front leg. Then go into your pigeon pose, and if you want to lean forward. I love this pigeon pose. stretch whenever I do it. So good. Alrighty, so come up and pull in your back leg. Then go into your butterfly. We're going to reach forward. If you don't want to reach forward, you can always just push down on your legs. You might notice the second time around you're a lot more flexible in some of these poses. Alrighty, next up, we got the pike sit. Remember, you can flex your feet or not. You can always do one round, you flex, one round, you point your toes. Both stretch out your legs, just in different ways. And we're already at the oversplits. So grab whatever you used the first time. This leg isn't as flexible for me, so we'll see if I can do the splits or not. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't, but stretch. Move this out of the way and let's do the splits. Alrighty. That leg was a lot less flexible. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. These stretches are awesome. They are tried and true. Each one of these are like my absolute favorites. I know there's a lot of little stretches that I'll do in my videos that I like for different muscle groups, but these ones I specifically picked because they were the absolute best ones that helped me get my splits. And yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you would like to see a middle split stretching routine. I still haven't gotten my middle splits yet, so I'll get back to you on that. But once I do, if you like this video, I will bring out a middle split stretching routine. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I am posting workouts every single day this month, so you definitely don't want to miss out on any of the fun workouts that I have planned. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow for a strength training workout. Bye guys.